Air pollution and climate change. But what is air pollution? Air pollution can be defined as an alteration of air quality that can be characterized by measurement of chemical, biological, or physical pollutants in air. Therefore, air pollution means the undesirable presence of impurities or the abnormal rise in the proportion of some constituent of the atmosphere. It can be classified in two sections: visible and invisible air pollution. Air pollution is one of the biggest threats for the environment and affects everyone: humans, animals, crabs, cities, forests, aquatic ecosystem. But what causes air pollution? Air pollution is caused by the presence in the atmosphere of toxic substances mainly produced by human activities, even though sometimes it can result from natural phenomena such as volcanic eruption, dust storm, and wildfires, also depleting the air quality. Anthropogenic air pollution sources are: number 1, combustion of fossil fuels like coal and oil for electricity and road transport, producing air pollutants like nitrogen and sulfur dioxide. Number 2, emission from industries and factories releasing large amount of carbon monoxide, chemicals, and organic compounds into the air. Number 3 is the agricultural activities due to the use of pesticide, insecticide, and fertilizer that emit harmful chemicals. Lastly, number 4 is waste production, mostly because of methane generation in landfills. But what is the effects of air pollution? It is impossible to describe the whole extent of potential and actual damage caused by all forms of air pollution. But here are the main consequences. On the environment, air pollution has a major impact on the process of plant re-evolution by preventing photosynthesis in many cases, with serious consequences for the purification of the air we breathe. It is also contribute of formation of acid rain. Atmospheric precipitation in the form of air, frost, snow, or fog, which are released during the combustion of fossil fuels and transformed by contact with water streams in the atmosphere. Next is global warming. On the top of that, air pollution is a major contributor of global warming and climate change. In fact, the abundance of carbon dioxide in air is one of the causes of the greenhouse effect. Normally, the presence of greenhouse gases should be beneficial for the planet because they absorb the infrared radiation produced by the surface of the Earth. But the excessive concentration of these gases in the atmosphere is the cause of the recent climate change. Next is on human health. Our continual exposure to air pollutant is responsible for the deterioration of human health. Air pollution is indeed a significant risk factor for human health condition, causing allergies, respiratory, and cardiovascular disease, as well as lung disease. Here are some of the air pollution prevention. There are ways to prevent, control, and eventually reduce air pollution. Number 1 is renewable fuel and clean energy production. The most basic solution for air pollution is to move away from fossil fuels, replacing them in alternative energies like solar, wind, and geothermal. Number 2 is energy conservation and efficiency. Producing clean energy is crucial, but equally important is to reduce our consumption of energy by adopting responsible habits and using more efficient devices. Number 3 is eco-friendly transportation. Shifting to electric vehicles and hydrogen vehicles and promoting shared mobility could reduce air pollution. Number 4, green building. From planning to demolition, green building aims to create environmentally responsible and resource-efficient structure to reduce their carbon footprint. Next is, let's talk about climate change. Climate change is the defining issue of our time and we are at the defining moment. From shifting weather patterns that threaten food production to rising sea levels that increase the risk of catastrophic flooding, the impact of climate change are global in scope and unprecedented in scale. Without drastic action today, adapting to these impacts in the future will be more difficult and costly. Global climate change has already had observable effects on the environment. Glaciers have shrunk, ice on rivers and lakes is breaking up earlier, plant and animals' ranges have shifted, and trees are flowering sooner. Effects that scientists have predicted in the past would result in global climate change are now occurring. Loss of sea ice, accelerated sea level rise and longer, more intense heat waves. The evidence that humans are causing climate change with drastic consequences for life on the planet is overwhelming, but the question of what to do about it remains controversial. Economics, sociology, and politics are all important factors in planning in the future. But what is the future effects of climate change? Some of long-term effects of global climate change in the United States are followed accordingly at the third and fourth National Climate Assessment Report. Change will continue through the century and beyond. Global climate is projected to continue to change over this century and beyond. The magnitude of climate change beyond the next few decades depend primarily on the amount of heat-trapping gases emitted globally and how sensitive the Earth's climate is to those emissions. Next is temperature will continue to rise. Because human-induced warming is superimposed on natural varying climate, the temperature rise has not been and will not be uniform or smooth across country or over time. Next is frost-free season with lengthen. The length of frost-free season has been increasingly nationally since 1980s, with the largest increase occurring in the western United States, affecting ecosystem and agriculture. More drought and heat waves. Drought in the southwest and heat waves, periods of abnormal hot weather lasting weeks or 2 weeks, everywhere are projected to become more intense, and cold waves less intense everywhere. Summer temperatures are projected to continue rising, and the reduction of soil moisture, which exacerbate heat waves, is projected for much of the western and central U.S. in the summer. By the end of this century, what had been once in 20-year extreme heat days, one-day events, are projected to occur every 2 or 3 years over most of the nation. Next is hurricane will become stronger and more intense. The intensity, frequency, and duration of North Atlantic hurricanes, as well as the frequency of the strongest Category 4 and 5 hurricanes, have all increased since the early 1980s. The intensity, frequency, and duration of North Atlantic hurricanes, as well as the frequency of the strongest Category 4 to 5 hurricanes, have all increased since the early 1980s. The relative contribution of humans and natural causes to this increase are still uncertain. Hurricane-associated storm intensity and rainfall rates are projected to increase as the climate continues to warm. So what can be done? Addressing climate change will require many solutions. There's no magic bullet, yet nearly all these solutions exist today, and many of them on human changing the way we have behaved, shifting the way we make and consume energy. The required changes spans technology, behaviors, and policies that encourage less waste and smarter use of our resources. For example, improvements to energy efficiency and vehicle fuel economy, increase in the wind and solar power, biofuels, and organic waste, setting a price on carbon, and protecting forests are all potent ways to reduce the amount of carbon dioxide and other gases trapping heat on the Earth. Thank you.